Welcome back, everyone. In this talk, I'll be dealing with neonatal hyperglycemia. Introducing myself once again, Dr. Rani Bashir, Senior Consultant Neonatology at Renac Medicity, Kochi. Here, I'll be dealing with the definition of neonatal hyperglycemia, etiology, few words about neonatal diabetes mellitus, treatment, and medications used, insulin and sulfonylureas. How do you define neonatal hyperglycemia? Neonatal hyperglycemia is defined as when the whole blood sugar level is more than 125 milligram per deciliter, or when the plasma blood sugar is more than 145 milligram per deciliter. Now, what happens when there is hyperglycemia? Hyperglycemia leads to hyperosmolarity, which in turn causes osmotic diuresis and dehydration. As a result, water moves from the intracellular to the extracellular compartment. This is especially important in brain, because of which intracellular volume of the brain contracts, leading to intracranial hemorrhage, something really ominous in our preterm babies. There are no specific symptoms for hyperglycemia, except in cases of neonatal diabetes mellitus, which we will discuss later. Now, what are the causes of neonatal hyperglycemia? Most important causes, iatrogenic, when we infuse IV fluids to the babies with a high glucose infusion rate. Next is drug-induced, glucocorticoids, caffeine, phenytoin, diazoxide, etc. in extreme low birth weight infants who are less than a kilo. The reason being variable insulin response, insulin resistance, and continued hepatic glucose production. Lipid infusion, sepsis, stress-induced due to painful procedures in NICU, hypoxia, surgical procedures, neonatal diabetes, diabetes due to pancreatic lesions such as pancreatic aplasia, or hypoplastic or absent pancreatic beta cells, ingestion of hyperosmolar formula, immature development of glucose transport proteins, etc. Now, few words about neonatal diabetes mellitus. As such, this is a rare entity in neonates, happens in term small for gestational age babies. A third of them may have a positive family history of diabetes mellitus. Neonate presents with hyperglycemia, 240 to 2300 milligram per deciliter, marked glycosuria, polyuria, severe dehydration, acidosis, mild or absent ketonuria, reduced subcutaneous fat, and failure to thrive. Insulin levels are low for the corresponding blood sugar levels. 50% of them need insulin treatment transiently, and they are at risk of diabetes in the second or third decade. This happens especially with mutations involving ATP-sensitive potassium channels of the pancreatic beta cells. Diagnosis is mainly genetic. Now, coming to the treatment of hyperglycemia, main aim of treatment is prevention and early detection. Monitor blood sugar levels in preterms and infants with symptoms. For ELBW babies, start with a GIR of at least 4 mg per kg per minute. Follow blood sugar levels and fluid balance closely and adjust the GIR. Avoid hypotonic fluids below D5 water. Begin TPN as early as possible, as some amino acids increase insulin secretion. Likewise, feeds should also be started at the earliest possible because feeding can promote the secretion of hormones that increase insulin secretion. Insulin therapy is not routinely recommended because neonates are extremely sensitive to the effects of insulin. Likewise, there is no role for prophylactic insulin use also to prevent hyperglycemia. Insulin is used when the blood sugar level still stays high, more than 250 mg per deciliter, in spite of reducing GIR, or when prolonged restriction of IV glucose would compromise the calorie intake of the baby. To avoid fluid shifts, it is recommended that the glucose level should be reduced gradually. Regular insulin is used for infusion. Insulin is known to bind the plastic tubing. So before starting infusion, purge the IV tubing with a minimum of twice the volume of the connecting tubing using the insulin containing solution, and wait for at least 20 minutes to saturate the plastic binding sites. There are different types of insulin infusions. Insulin is used as a bolus or continuous insulin infusion, or even subcutaneous insulin lispro, rarely except in neonatal diabetes. Usually, we use continuous insulin infusion. The rate of infusion is 0.01 to 0.1 units per kg per hour. Start with the minimum dose. For IV administration, with sterile water, make it to 10 units per ml and then further dilute in compatible solution to a concentration of 0.05 to 1 units per ml. As I mentioned earlier, for all drug dosages and medication preparations, refer NeoFACS or your local approved guidelines. After starting insulin infusion, check blood sugar every 30 minutes until stable. If blood sugar still remains more than 180 mg per deciliter, titrate insulin in increments of 0.01 units per kg per hour. If hypoglycemia occurs, discontinue insulin infusion and administer IV bolus of D10 water at 2 ml per kg over 1 minute. The things to look for are the potassium levels as well as rebound hyperglycemia, because insulin resistance may also occur. Subcutaneous insulin lispro is rarely used except in neonatal diabetes. Oral sulfonylureas have also been used in the long-term management of infants with neonatal diabetes. Thank you very much for a patient listening. We'll discuss about all these in the chat box. Wish everyone a happy learning, and I use this opportunity to thank the organizers of this online training module for giving me a chance as well. Thank you.